Welcome to this video on using ternaries and ELIF in Python. My name's Andy Wicks, and in this video we're going to be looking at how you do conditions in other ways. What do you do if you want to simplify the way that the code is read? What do you do if you want to have more than one condition? And that's what this video looks at. Let's start off by looking at the only variable I'm going to use this time. I'm going to assume that my score in the Python exam at the end of this module is 67. Now, let's see what happens when we run this code. What we have here is a ternary. The ternary is used as a one-line if-else. What we have is a variable that is being set to something, in this case past. And if the condition is true, it sets past to whatever it is, true in this case. So if my score is greater than or equal to 40, it sets past, a Boolean variable, to true. If it isn't greater than or equal to 40, it sets it to false. I don't need to say past equals again. So what we've got is a sentence that says past is true if my score is greater than or equal to 40, else it's false. And that will work. If past, so if the variable past is true, it prints out you've passed. If I haven't passed, it prints out not quite this time. And as you can see, I've passed, so I'm doing good. Now let's try this in a different way. This is also a ternary, and what I'm saying is that set the result to you have passed if my score is greater than or equal to 40, else set it to not quite this time. So it does all that if-else in one go. You can save yourself quite a bit of code and therefore quite a few opportunities to create errors if you use a ternary where that's relevant. So if you've got a particular variable being set to one thing or another, you can do that all in one line using a ternary. And then your code becomes that much simpler. But what happens when I want to find out whether I've just passed or not? What grade did I get? Well, let me show you another option. But what happens if we want to check if there are one of several different outcomes? For example, you'd be interested to know what class of degree you got. In Britain, there are 4 classes of degrees. There's a third, which is the lowest, a lower second, upper second, and a first. If my score is less than 40, unfortunately I don't get a degree at all. So if my score is less than 40, I want it to print better luck next time. That is fairly simple to understand. But the ELIFs allow me to check for multiple conditions. And what an ELIF does, it says, if the conditions above are not true, check this condition. And then it goes on to the next one. It says, well, if those conditions aren't true, try this one, and so on, until it gets to the last possibility that's else. So let me go through this. We assumed a score of 67. So it says, if my score is less than 40, it's not. So that condition is false, so it skips print better luck next time. It checks to see whether the condition above was false, and it was false, so now it tries my score is less than 50. That's still not true, so it still doesn't print you've got a third. Now it goes on to the next ELIF. If the conditions above, my score less than 40 and my score less than 50 are not true, try this one. My score is less than 60. But it's still got no luck. My score is still above that. So it goes on to the next ELIF. If my score is less than 70, well, it is less than 70. It was 67. So now it prints, you got an upper second. And because it's found one of the conditions that's correct, it ignores the else. So if you have a situation where you need to check for several different outcomes, you use an ELIF to sort them out hierarchically. Then you get whichever outcome is appropriate.